instant switch, right? In our chemicals, physiology. Amazing. So welcome everybody. Welcome Greg. Thank you for joining the Embodied Feminine tribe here, the goddesses. It takes a strong, conscious man to step into a circle of crazy, awakened, alive women that are thirsty and hungry to grab life big, right? So thank you for being with us. And yay. So we're jumping to this juicy conversation. Well, maybe not so juicy, but we'll make it juicy for you all. Because we're in week 4 of the Master Heart. And we've identified, we tweak the vision. So if you are lit up about your vision, if it's true, if it rings real and true in your heart, in your womb, in your mind, and it resonates with life, then it's like, yes, life is ready for it, and it's ready to meet you, and it's got a lot of room for your gifts and talents and all of you to come alive. And that takes a dedication, and that takes dedicated energy and time. If we want to grow it, I have this other little poster that I love, and I used it the other day. You can't expect to plant a tree today and for it to grow tomorrow. We can't. If you want it to be a strong, rooted, rich, fruitful tree, it takes time and proper nurturing. And that takes dedication, devotion. And I did another live this morning, how if we're not conscious about where we're directing our attention, where we're directing our time and energy, life is going to swoop us over today in no time, in seconds today. So it takes a lot of elimination and dedicated attention. And that's why I called Greg up, because he is pretty much the master of it. He has been trained with, you started 25 years ago and you led some of Tony Robbins' teams in marketing, and now you're training thousands, like 150 people that you impact, 150,000 coaches that you impacted in people's lives as a health coach, integrating these principles of body, mind, finances into your business now. And made it super successful, and you have these principles that worked for over 25 years now. So, and Greg and I, we've been really exploring the themes of structure and masculine structure, and then the feminine creativity and flow, which we agree both exist in one person. It exists in you, in him, and every single one of us. So by taking on these masculine principles or adding a little more structure does not necessarily take away from our feminine beauty and flow and creativity, but we need to know both. So Greg, welcome to the call. I want to let you introduce and say a little more about yourself or what you're talking to us today about.
Thank you. Hi, ladies. I feel so special and so honored to be here with you guys. I know Marina's work, and I know several of you. We've met. And I know how amazing you guys are as women and what you're all about and what you're in this course to do. It's like to really tap into your greatness and unleash that feminine goddess that the world needs so badly right now. We need that conscious feminine more than ever. And, one of the principles of feminine is the creative power. And I think that's the key to this focus for me today, is that to stay in the creative space and realize, what's your biggest creation? What's the number one thing you're creating? Is your life. It's like, are you the creator of your life? And so this is where we're starting, is some of the questions on the handout. If you see it, the first question is, are you ready to be the CEO of your own life? Are you ready to take that responsibility and say, I have created this life that I'm experiencing now. All the decisions, all the actions, all the choices I've made have got me to where I am, right? True or false? Who agrees with that, right? So therefore, all the decisions, the actions, and the choices that I make going forward are going to determine where I'm going to end up for the rest of my life. So it's like taking that responsibility. What's the lifestyle that you're committed to creating? Are you ready to create an amazing lifestyle? where you're doing and being and having, and you're having it all. And really, it's about priority management. You know, you'll see that the title of this is Priority/Life Management. And as Marina was saying, there's so many things going on today. It's very easy to be distracted or to get stuck, overwhelmed, and you can't say yes to everything. So by definition, a priority is saying this is more important than that. And so as you guys have gone through these first 4 weeks, you've started to get clear on your vision, your mindset, the distractions, things that are important to you. So we're going to use some of those things on this worksheet, but we're really going to focus on calendar. We're going to really focus on, like, you can't really manage time. Time just is. Time is, you know, Meryl get 168 hours a week. The question is, what are you going to do with your 168 hours? You know, how effective, productive, how purposeful are you going to be? So we're going to focus on priority management. It's almost like energy management. Where do I manage my energy? Where do I manage my attention? Where do I channel my gifts, my talents, my time? So I want to start with a quick little visualization. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to go through 2 imaginary days. And the first day we're going to go through is the day of reaction. So imagine it's a normal day. You wake up and first thing, you don't really have a game plan, but all of a sudden something happens you weren't expecting. And it's like, oh shoot, this needs my attention. And you jump in and you start working on that. And as you work on that thing that you weren't expecting, these other things that you wanted to get done are piling up. And you can feel that anxiety of, oh, I still have this to do and I wasn't planning this. And now I'm behind schedule. I've got an extra hour. And then you're going along and you're trying to juggle your responsibilities. You're getting the kids going. You're getting your day started. And then somebody calls you or you get an email and something's important and you're reacting to that. And you're in this reaction mode and all these things going on in your mind, emotions in your body and your thoughts and feelings, and you're just reacting constantly. And at the end of the day, you've been working hard, you're going for it. You're like dedicated. You're trying to help people. You're trying to do what you need to do. You're trying to take care of your responsibilities. But at the end of the day, even though you were completely busy, you look back and you go, what did I really do today? What did I get done today? Where did the day go? It's gone. It's like that. 24 hours, gone. Okay, now notice in your body how those feelings are. What are the emotions? What are the feelings in your body when you have a reactionary day where you are just pushed around all day long, reacting? And then notice what thoughts or stories you might be telling yourself. Just pay attention to those right now. Okay, now shake it off. Take a breath, move your body a little bit. We're going to do another visualization. Now we're going to visualize a conscious day, a day of creation, a day of intention. And you went to bed the night before and you already planned your day. So when you wake up in the morning, you know what your priorities are. And you know one of those first things that you put in your day is you put in time for you. When it's quiet before the rest of the world gets going, you've blocked out a little bit of time for your goddess rituals. And you're filling your cup. And you're out there with nature, you're doing your movement, you're doing your journaling, and you're filling up your cup. So as you consciously go into this day, you know what your priorities are. So even if something comes that you weren't expecting, you've built in space so you're ready for it. And you've got the energy to deal with it. But you come back to those priorities because you know what your top goals are for the day. And you put attention into that and energy. And you have fun and you flow. And when things come up, you flow with it. Instead of like, bumping up against it, you roll around it, you roll with it. And you check off those things on your list. And as you're checking off those things on your list, you're like, yes. And even though you're active and you're busy, when you check that thing off the list, you get a boost of energy. You feel even more confident. You're ready for the next thing. And as you accomplish one thing, it gives you confidence to take on the next thing. And by the end of the day, you look back at your day and you were busy, you were focused, you were productive, but you were conscious. You were intentional. This was a day that happened by design, not by default. How does it feel when you look back on a day when you got your most important things done? How does that feel? What are the emotions in your body? What are the thoughts in your mind? What are the stories you tell yourself? How do you take that momentum and say, okay, that was a good day. I'm going to take this into the next day. And you plan your day again as you go to bed, and you go to bed feeling fulfilled, feeling purposeful. Okay, so now, Marina, if you could unmute or let people, I'd like to ask a couple people share. What's the difference, the contrast between a reactionary, unconscious, being pushed around by life day versus a day that's by design, by intention, creative, and you're focused? What's the contrast between those two experiences? Susie put energy, a reacting, a feeling of anxiety. Alina, you guys want to, would you, either of you want to share a little bit about that?
Seems to be like my everyday. The first scenario where stuff's coming up, you know, yeah. That seems to be like, that's every day. And that's happened. That's exactly what happened this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, you know, my computer screen, it's opened up in about 20 different tabs because of all the different things that have come up.
Can anyone else relate to Angelica? Multiple tabs, things coming at you. You're like dodging, everything's coming at you. It's like reaction. And how does it feel at the end of the day, Angelica?
It's just like, you know, I didn't get done what I wanted to get done to begin with. You know, it's just like, and sometimes things get done like, you know, half-assed. It's not all finished, and it's like started, and I've got all these different tabs, and this has started, and that started, and that started. But yet I haven't done anything for myself. I haven't been to the gym. I didn't go bike riding. I haven't for days because I've got all this stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to, this is a principle that I'm going to come back to over and over, Angelica, and I want you to give yourself permission to give yourself grace, because this kind of a life management skill takes an unusual amount of conscious presence, because life is going to keep coming at you. And it's like, we're going to have to learn how to create habits and rituals that over time will give you that space and that capacity to handle more. So right now, I just want to say, everyone on the call, especially Angelica, because of your share, give yourself permission to say that this is a practice. I'm going to the gym and I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm going to learn some new skills, and give yourself time to get this done. Because it's not like Marina was saying, you plant the seed, you don't expect a tree the next day. It's going to have to take roots and grow. But
I also, yeah, it's very great. I also want to go ahead. Well, I also want to jump in and say, give yourself grace and gratitude for making it on the call right now. Like, just making time for yourself, for your growth, for your, you know, positive, you know, growing environment that supports you. You put it in your calendar, you carved out the time, you're sitting down, you're ready to learn. Like, bravo. Like, let's celebrate the little wins, right? Yeah, Val, right? Yeah. So thank you. And yeah.
Yeah, and this is in the middle of all the clients too. Like, this is one of my client days, you know. So, but I did get to the gym at 7 a.m, maybe 3 or 4 days ago. So
bravo. Yeah. Celebrating these little wins. And yeah. Kelly, yes, go ahead, Greg.
And just giving yourself permission to put the oxygen mask on yourself, and having the wisdom, that grandmother wisdom, that patience of saying, you know what, there's going to be things that can wait. But one thing that can't wait is for me to fill up my cup. Adita was talking about this morning. She forced herself to get out of the house and go into nature, and she started dancing and working out, and all of a sudden her cup is so full. She came to this call like with just energy, like, okay, I'm ready to take on whatever comes. And I want you guys to just really get this, remember this. It's like, if you were teaching your children, right, how important it is for them to take care of themselves, don't forget, you got to give yourself that permission too. You've got to block that time out and make some time. So we're going to talk a lot about blocking time, self-care. We're going to use some of the things that you and Marina have already been working on with this mastermind. Another thing is, Marina mentioned, is this I'm going to challenge you to, if you're not used to bringing in the masculine energy of planning and structure, I'm going to challenge you to bring that in. I'm going to invite you to have this philosophy, this belief that when there are clear boundaries and when there is clarity of priority, that masculine hunter energy, that focus, when you have clarity and focus, then it allows that feminine magic to just flow because the boundaries are there to keep the space, to hold the space. So I'm going to challenge you to bring on some masculine traits in planning and executing, and then that gives you more fun and flow for the feminine to come out and play without restriction and just be like totally present. So presence is common in both. Presence is common in the masculine and in the feminine, and that presence and consciousness is really what this is all about. This is about creating a life by design versus flowing with a life by default. And the life by default may not be on your purpose, with your values, with your principles, with what's important to you. And that being said, the last thing I'm going to challenge you to think about is what do you need to say no to? Because there are so many things coming at us. I want you guys to get good at learning how to say no. Because if you constantly are saying yes, 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 and you're in service and you're helping others and you end up being a martyr and not having any kind of peace of mind or any kind of fulfillment. So learning how to say no is part of this. So let's dive in. I like to keep things really simple. I'm going to share with you some strategies that I've used and I've taught to, as Marina said, thousands of people. And these are some strategies that I'd invite you to play with and try them on and see how they work for you. And if they don't work, that's okay. I won't be offended. But these are principles that have been pretty time tested. And for me, I have a really amazing lifestyle. I have a lot of freedom. I have a lot of time. I have a big impact at the same time, but I don't have a lot of stress. I'm at choice a lot. And
ladies, who wants more of that? No stress, freedom, right? And time.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And just like Marina was saying, I planted this seed, decades ago, and I've been nurturing it, and now it's turned into an orchard. It started off as one tree, and then that tree bare fruit, and I chopped that tree, the fruits open, and I planted some more trees, and then, so I've built up a structure with my life. My life is very structured, but at the same time, I leave lots of space for flow and for unexpected things. So we're going to talk about that. This is mostly going to be about your calendar, managing your time and your attention in your calendar, but I'm going to give you a couple other things to manage the chaos that sometimes builds up in our mind. I'm going to give you a couple tools for that as well. So starting with the tools you'll need, you really only need like a yellow pad like this. You'll need the worksheets, 3x5 cards, little simple 3x5 index cards. And that's really it. Oh, the other thing that's really important is to make sure that your calendar on your computer and your calendar on your phone are synced. Does everyone have that where your phone and calendar is synced? That's critical. Okay.
Yeah, Greg, we also, like in the worksheets that you have, because we also worked on our goals, you worked on eliminating stuff. So we've included that for you. You already have that in home play week 3. You have your goals written out already. Then you have your distractions and eliminations and time wasters in week 1, part 2.
I think Marina froze. Okay, yes. So let's go to the worksheet now. We're going to go to the process. The section, step 1 in this process is you've already written down and got clarity with week 3 on your goals, and you already have these goals, as Marina was said, written down. What I recommend is, what's the life that you're committed to creating? Step 1 is decide what you want to create. So having those goals is really the first step in time management, because if you don't have any goals, then you don't really have anything to manage. You can just stay in chaos and you can just stay in reaction. So if you don't have anything important to create, then just go with the flow and let life throw you what it throws you every day. But if you want to create something, you got to take charge, right? And that's your big rocks. So in the worksheet that you have here, there's going to be four areas: healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances, and healthy spirit. Now, you guys have already worked on these goals, right? Show of hands. This was a couple weeks ago. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take those goals and really simplify them, and then maybe one or two sentences, just write those in there, okay? You can do that later, but I think this is important because this is the orientation of why am I working so hard? Why am I doing this? It's because I want to create this life. I want to have this kind of health and this kind of relationship and this kind of career. So having that goal is primary. And in my business, my company is called Optavia, and we teach a principle called lead from the future and act in the now. And what lead from the future means is it's like the conscious leader will jump into the future and see their future the way they want it. And then as they visualize that vision, they come back to today, and now they know where they want to go, and they know where they are, and there's a tension. There's a natural tension. It's called structural tension. Here's where I want to be. Here's where I am. So by leading from the future, that's creating the vision in advance, and then acting in the now. Acting in the now means, who do I need to be today to create that future? Like Adita had to push herself out of her old make excuses, stay in bed, hit the snooze button. She had to say, no, if I want to create this vision of my future, I need to get up and do my thing. So we're going to start with those goals, and that's important to do, but we're not going to do that today on the call. We're going to just move on to the second step. But that's one of your homework assignments, is to put these goals on this form. Just even how many of you find that the more often you rewrite your goals, the more clear they become, the more they become ingrained in your heart and in your mind. It's like there's magic. If you were to just every day wake up and just write out your goals, and that was one of your habits, how many of you think that would bring your goals more top of mind? How many think that would cause the law of attraction to kick in by every day writing out, I want to create this, I want to create this, I want to create this. Yeah, so bringing it over and over through repetition is really good. Let's go to step number 2. Step number 2 is to kind of review your current reality. What are your current patterns? What are your current habits? What are maybe the unconscious routines that you've already adopted? And I have this little exercise that I like to do. And I'm going to ask Adita if you could be my volunteer for this. We're going to unmute yourself, hon.
Okay.
And this is called the 168-hour exercise. It's the first thing on step 2. And so this 168 hours that's how many hours there are in a week. We all get 168 hours a week. So the question is, what are we going to do with it? So we have these big rocks, right? So Adita, we're going to do this is like a kind of a gut check. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to go back and look at your calendar and be perfect with this, but this is kind of like a gut check of what's your current pattern. So right now, and what I have here is I have a little cheat sheet. I'm having the activity, the number of hours, the number of days, and then the total. So we're going to say, Adita, how many hours of sleep do you typically get at night?
8 to 9 hours.
Great. And how many days a week? 7?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to add these up. I'm going to go through these major chunks of life, these major big rocks that we have. So family time. How many hours a day do you have family time?
2 hours.
2 hours, 7 days a week or 5 days a week? How many days?
7 days, because I cook every night, so.
Okay, great. How about your career and your work? How many hours a day do you do work?
So now, if I have a client, it's 5 hours a day.
Okay.
So let's say 5 hours, 3 times a week.
Okay.
But does it also include steps leading to it? So let's say 5 hours a day every day, because if I don't have a client, I do client work anyway.
There you go. So okay. Is that 7 days a week or 5 days a week?
7 days, because I work whenever.
You work on weekends too?
Yes.
Okay, great.
By choice.
Okay. How about your personal health time, like your self-care time? How many hours a day?
2 hours a day.
Good job. And is that 7 days a week or 5?
7.
7, okay.
And sometimes I take 8 hours a day. Just kidding. I wish.
Are there any other big boulders in your calendar? Do you have a spiritual group that you get together with? Do you
Oh,
have
yes.
a girls' night? Do you have other big boulders that are like every week I do this?
I do, like the meditation group, women's circle, teaching webinars.
Okay,
So
so
like I'm
let's
a
call
lot
that
on,
community time.
okay, community time, yes.
And how
So
many?
let's say, per week, it's about 6 hours.
Okay, I want you guys to all do this for yourself if you can. Write down the answers for yourself. How many hours a week or a day, and then add it up for a week. Are you doing sleep, family, work, health, community? Okay, so what was that? How many hours a day, Adita?
So let's say 6 hours a week.
6 hours a week total. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add up these numbers. Is there anything else big, any other big boulders in your calendar that are important to you, that you want to pay attention to?
Gardening, but I don't like it.
No, okay. So that's not important to you? It's not a priority, not a big boulder?
No, because I'm lazy. No.
Okay. Okay, great. So now I'm going to add these up. So it's 56 hours for sleep, 14 hours for family, 35 hours for health. I'm sorry, for work, 14 hours for health, and 6 hours for community. So I'm going to add this all up. So 56 plus 14 plus 35 plus 14 plus 6 equals, okay, 125. So Adita, you've got 125 hours already allotted for big rocks. Those are important things. So we want to honor that. Congratulations. But let's just minus that from 168. So minus 168. So there's 43 hours that are available that are getting,
Wow.
that are probably getting filled. There's probably things grabbing that time. The question is, how important are those things that are grabbing time? Because who's ever heard this phrase, nature abhors a vacuum?
Say it again, this saying, nature.
Nature abhors, nature hates a vacuum. If there is space, something will fill it. The question is that something that's filling and grabbing that time, that 43 hours, is it purposeful? Is it going to help you reach those goals that you wrote down, right? So anyone else do the exercise? How many hours do you have that's unaccounted for?
Wow, but I'm shocked.
Are you shocked? Yeah, 43
Yes,
hours.
because to be honest, that's the wasted time. Like mindless, social media, blah, 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 just.
That's our next question. That is
Okay.
our next question. We're going to get there. Anyone else do a calculation, and how much did you come up with? I want to hear some other women. What's the amount of time that's left over in their week? It's not accounted for. Now, again, it will be taken up. It's not like those hours are just sitting there empty. Someone grabs that time. Question is it on purpose? You can put it in the chat how many hours you have left over or that are unaccounted for. I'd love to hear. Okay, so DT, you were completely right on your instincts on what's the next step. The next step is, okay, where is that 43 hours going? Who's stealing it? And then you got to look at those time distractions and those wasters. So you've already done this too. This was home play week 1 for part 3. But you guys know, you don't have to go back to your other worksheets. You know what some of your big time wasters are. Dita, you said social media. Is that one of yours?
Yes, social media and like being distracted. For example, I would start reading a book and I'm like, oh, let me get the coffee. Then from coffee, I will end up talking to someone. And then like 2 hours later, I'm still on FaceTime, stuff like that. Like mindless, chaotic distractions.
Can I throw that in there as far as kind of being in a multitasking mindset? Is that part of it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so social media, multitasking. Raise your hand if you find that multitasking can be a distraction. That you lose you go, oh shoot, what was I started? I was supposed to do this and now I'm over here. Yeah, that's the trap of multitasking. That's the trap of multitasking. Anyone want to say anything about that? Anyone have any examples? Like Aditi gave a great one. I wanted to read this book. Next thing you know, she's off on something else. Angelica?
It's always happening. It seems to be, you know, there's this and then there's that and then there's, you know.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, it's not so much like wasting my time just scrolling through my homepage. It's a lot of, I mean, it's focused, but it's like, you know, there's this and then there's that, and it's all stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And focus and not starting and finishing one task. And when you start and you finish something, you feel at least like, okay, this is done, and now I can move on to the next. And
right.
It's clearer and much more like focus, and I'm getting to this thing. Okay, this is done. Instead of starting everything and then you feel overwhelmed and you don't know where to go. You feel lost.
Yeah. Let me, let's talk about that mindset, Joni. Thank you. Is that there's definitely this tendency for us to feel good when we complete something, right? You check off a list, you get a boost of energy. It's like, yes, I did it. And that energy can then be harnessed and put into the next project. The challenge is that oftentimes, I am very guilty of this, and I know a lot of people are, is we overestimate what we can do.
Yes.
In 30 minutes. And we forget that those little extra things like, oh yeah, I forgot to plan it's a 30-minute drive to get that appointment. I put the appointment in my calendar, but I forgot to put the reminder that I have to leave 30 minutes early or else I'll be late for the appointment. So it's time management, right? So one of the strategies, Joni, that helps me with that is I've just become aware of my pattern of overestimating what I can get done. Now I have a proactive strategy of putting in space. Whenever I have any event, I think of it as 3 parts. I don't just think about the event itself, reading the book or going to the gym. I think of it's 3 parts. Get ready for the event, do the event, and then wrap up the event. And there's always 3 parts. And this is like getting ready for this workshop. I had to get ready for it. Now we're doing it. And then when we're done, there's going to be some follow-up. There's going to be some action items to complete it. So I can then say, yes, I'm complete. And so if I forget to plan the prep, all I'm planning for is the event itself, and I forget to plan for the wrap-up, I'm always behind schedule. I never catch up. So one of the principles here is to consciously plan all 3 stages into your calendar. And one of my rules is, I have a rule, I never, almost never, I mean, literally, I can think in the last probably 2 or 3 years, I've only done this once. I never back myself up. One call ends at 3:30 and I start the next one at 3:30. I never do that. I always give myself 15 minutes buffer. 15 minutes to grab a coffee, to have a snack, to go to the bathroom, to finish my notes, to send a thank you card. So I'm going to challenge you. Plan space into your calendar. We're going to be working on calendars in a second. So yes, plan for the block time of getting stuff done and staying focused, but also plan space so you have time for prep, the event, and the follow-up. Does that make sense?
Greg, that's awesome. I want to jump in and just say, like, as you're, describing these 2 scenarios of space, plan for space, and if I'm back to back to back to back with my life, like the feelings that I'm getting are complete contrasts. I'm getting this anxiety already just thinking about rushing for an appointment, not having the time to take proper notes, crumbing it all up in 1 hour, and then multitasking, and then having to come back to it again, digging up the stuff again. It just gives me the cringes in my body where I'm running, just thinking about it. I'm running on anxiety, and I'm like instantly, I'm less present. I'm less present to my client. I'm less present to what I'm doing in the moment. And if I'm preoccupied and anxious in my mind, I'm actually less efficient. So it's awful. This whole multitasking is actually costing me a lot more in the long run.
Yeah.
And when I'm really present, it's like sometimes I jump on a session and it can take 20 minutes or half an hour instead of 90 minutes, So it's really amazing. what can be accomplished. And with Sarah too, if we are well prepared, if I have an agenda and I'm prepared, we can roll through it in like, you know, an hour, 45 minutes instead of a 2-hour mastermind all of a sudden, you know, brainstorming. So I can just distinguish these feelings of how does it make you feel and what is it costing us? What is it costing you? Price is very high.
How many of you can relate to what Marina is saying? Right? I want to just take a moment and talk about multitasking.
Greg, and may I ask you only before you go there, because I really love it. Do you have the name for this, like Greg's 3 steps? Like, how would you call it so I can own it and give you a credit?
As far as planning those 3 steps, the prep.
Yeah, exactly. How this, every event has 3 parts. Get ready, do the event, wrap up, like it's yours. So how is it, now I know it's helping you. So how do you call this practice? Like 3 magic steps or?
Well, Greg, isn't it like the trilogy is one of your?
One of my patterns is I've noticed in nature and in life, this magic of trilogy. This is magic of 3s. And there's some sacredness to that triangle. And so this is, I like to call it like a party life. Like if you want to have a party life, like if you're going to throw a party, what do? You make the list, you plan it out, you do the prep, then you have the party, and then you have the cleanup and the wrap up. And so if you want your life to be a party and have it be fun, remember the trilogy. The trilogy of those of any event has at least 3 parts. And you got to honor the first and the last, because we focus on the middle a lot, but we need to honor the whole thing. It's really a holistic planning, Edita. It's holistic. Yes. It's a holistic way of looking at life. Going back to the multitasking concept. Multitasking is so dangerous. And we, you know, as parents and especially women, because you guys are diffused focus, like, you know, the gatherer, right? The natural tendency for a woman is she's a gatherer. So she's watching out, she's looking for the berries, she's looking for the animals. Her focus is naturally diffused. Whereas the hunter, he's like tracking, he's laser, he's got one single mind, you know, find the prey, kill the prey, bring it back to the family, you know, and the mom, she's like watching out for the weather and the birds and the signs. And so she's got this diffused awareness. It's a beautiful thing. But when it gets out of control, when you're trying to be productive and when you're trying to be effective, you're trying to write something, you're trying to finish something, what Joni was saying, you want to complete something. Multitasking is your worst enemy. Because by the time it takes about 15 minutes to get into flow, how many of you have got into a flow state doing something mundane, washing the floor? But you get into that zone, you get into a flow, and it takes about 15 minutes to get into a flow. But if you get distracted, if the alarm goes off or something goes on with the kids and you get distracted, it's going to take another 15 minutes to get back into flow. So the idea is block time is one of the key principles we're going to talk about, how to block your time. And the minimum block I recommend is 15 minutes. But optimally, if you can get to where you're doing 30 and 1 hour blocks, and the maximum block time actually I like is about an hour and a half, because after an hour and a half of doing the same thing, my energy starts dropping. So there's this optimal window between like 30 minutes to an hour, hour and a half of blocking time where you do one thing. I'm going to call clients. I'm going to email. I'm going to block 30 minutes on social media, and it's going to be intentional. And now I'm going to scroll. I'm going to say hi to these 3 people. I'm going to do these 2 posts, and boom, 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 boom. So it's laser focus. So let's talk about how do we block time. And we're going to go to step 3 on the worksheet. So step 3 on the worksheet is to create a blank sheet of paper like this. And we're going to actually draw out your calendar. And this is your homework. Let me share my screen. I'll show you what this looks like here. So just take a regular piece of paper. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you take a regular piece of paper. Around the top, you put Monday through Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On the left, you're going to put the time of day. Whatever time you wake up, and then whatever time you go to bed. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually fill in and we're going to find optimal block times, and we're going to start putting in optimal self-care and our big rocks. So the first step is, once you have this worksheet, is you're going to look at your big rocks, and you're going to block these priorities into your schedule. Let's see, hold on. How can I stop this? Can you guys, are you seeing the screen or just my face?
No, your face.
Okay. So block time, what is block time? Block time is when you put aside a certain amount of time to do one task, one thing. And that might mean part of your prep for block time, if you've got kids, might be to go out and put a sign on the wall that says, "Mommy's busy for the next half an hour, go play." You might have to have a prep, but when you're getting ready for your block time, don't forget there's the block, there's the prep, there's the event, and then there's cleanup. So at the end of your block time, give yourself 15 minutes to wrap up and close all the loops and sign off on all the things and send a thank you card. So your block time is where you're going to put your non-negotiables. So the first thing you do in this weekly calendar is you put in your big boulders, your body, your sleep, your morning ritual, your morning goddess ritual. You know, block that out. Maybe that's 5 days a week. Maybe it's 7 days a week. I know that you guys have your mastermind every Tuesday morning. That should be in your calendar, right? You have maybe a date night with your kids or date night with your spouse or your lover. Put that in your calendar. What are your big blocks that make you healthy, happy, physically? Your work schedule. What are your prime hours? Let's talk about prime time. There's definitely hours of the day that you're not going to be able to reach out to clients, right, Adita? There's certain times of the day that if you wanted to talk to a client, they're going to be busy. But there's certain prime time, and what I call prime time is that prime time when you are at your best and you have the best chance of doing what you need to do. So maybe prime time for writing a book, Adita, might be different than prime time for doing your business. But what I want you to start thinking about is, what is prime time? What's my creative time? What's my prime time for my fitness? What's my prime time for my family? What's my prime time for my career? So prime time means when you're matching up your skill set and the availability of the project you're working on. So think about prime time. Yeah, Marina.
And ladies, we're going to be jumping more into this topic on cycles and cultivating this prime energy actually next Tuesday. So that's fun. But how many times have I catch myself? I'm like, I have so much creative energy. I can channel, I can do a live, I can do a video, I can write a book now. And all of a sudden my kid comes around or somebody comes up and I end up cleaning the house. You know, and that energy goes to drain basically. Like I raise that, like, you know, so how can we harvest that magnetic energy, and not just harvest it, but cultivate it consciously, cultivate it, harness it, and then funnel it and fuel it into something, those big rocks that matter to you.
And here's what I'll promise you, Angelica and all those other folks that are having a hard time like putting yourself first, when you actually get in the habit of filling up your cup with your morning goddess time, and then when you're clear on what your hot priorities are, your top most important things, and then when you go to those things with that kind of energy and that kind of focus, you'll get more done in a couple hours a week than you might have done in, you know, tons of hours the week before. So kind of trust this, play with it, see how it works for you, but try it out. And also buffer. I want to take another moment and talk about buffer. So having space after the event or whatever, you might even want to have a buffer afternoon. I have a follow-up Friday where for half of the day on Friday, I don't book appointments unless they're really important. And I use most of the day for Friday for following up.
I love it.
So I'm like focused, rocking and rolling Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday, I'm like, whoa, softer day. I have space in half the day. And my focus is, I call it follow-up Friday. So find these prime times for you and put those in your calendar. Next is step 5 is that once you have your calendar outlined and you have a ideal week. Now this is an ideal week. Once you put these things in here, it's like ideal. But we all know that life has curveballs and unexpected things. So give yourself permission to be flexible. But once you get your schedule, I will say this, less is more. You know, slow is the new fast. Being intentional, being purposeful is going to be more productive in the long run, and you'll have more fun in the process. You won't feel frazzled at the end of the day. So when it comes to putting your block time in here, be really thoughtful about creating a space and not overwhelming yourself. This is not a to-do list. This is a ideal week. And you'll try this for a week or two, and then you'll make some adjustments. You'll see, oh, you know what? This is not the best time for me to work out. You know, working out in the afternoon, it's not working for me. Or this is not the best time for me to do my client calls. So you'll learn from just trying it and playing with it. So once you have those in your actual written calendar, the next thing is to put those blocks into your actual calendar on your computer. And what you do is you put them in as an appointment and you make them reoccurring. So that if you're, and optimally to have a rhythm, how many of you guys already have some big like routines that are in your calendar that you do every week? Okay, Dita, what's one of your routines that you do every week?
It's a daily workout, weekly massage, bi-weekly facial. So I do have it in my and then I put also how much water I'm drinking, supplements, the PQ, so it's like a recurring event on my calendar. And of course, daily meditation. I cannot function without it.
I love it. I have a reminder on my calendar to slow down and go to bed. Like I have a reoccurring every night, time to shut down, time to go to bed. I have my morning ritual every morning. Do your gratitude questions, do your warrior ritual. I have these things every day, and they pop up and they remind me. Some days I have to move things around. Something special happens. I have a special person coming into town, and I can't do my warrior routine, the normal time. I say, okay, where can I move it? Because I don't want to delete it. So what I do is I try to just move the appointment and find another spot for it if I can. But I'm also flexible, and I'm also realizing that, hey, sometimes special occasions come. Sometimes I have a guest. Sometimes, you know, I have something going on with Marina that's priority, and it's going to take a priority over my normal routine. But having the routine gives me peace of mind, and it helps me plan. One of the things also that I want to encourage you to do is to block time on Sunday night to plan the week ahead. Put a little reminder every Sunday night. Marina and I call it our power hour, and we get ready for the week. We have these questions that we go through, and we get ready for the week, and then we kind of align our schedules. So have a Sunday weekly prep night so you can prep for the whole week. And then what are you going to do the next Sunday? You review the week that you just had, and you prep for the next week. Mm-hmm. Okay. You might even want to do that at the end of the day. You might want to have an end of the day wrap up. I do mine at the end of the night before I go to bed. That's the next thing we're going to talk about, is I call it a mind dump. But I like to clear my mind at the end of the day before I go to bed, so I can go to bed without any stress. How many of you would like to go to bed with no stress? Okay, I'm going to teach you how I do that. Marina, did you want to add something?
I wanted to add that if some of you, that's like a strong takeaway. It's like, yeah, I want to plan my week and I want to plan my day, at least like get one big boulder done per day that will move the needle for you. Maybe use your accountability partners for that. I used to have this like system for Sunday system. I would just send a picture to my accountability partner. I did my planning. I'm going to Sunday, I'm going to bed, and I've got my plan for the week. Just a picture. And I literally have it, you know, I'm happy to share my system with you guys if you want, but I have it a system that I'm grateful for what happened last week and my big boulders for this week. 7 major things that I like, yes, my heart, my mind is going to be at full peace if I get them done. So gratitude for last week. I got shit done or I didn't get it done. What to let go of. Elimination is part of it here. What can I eliminate? I told you guys that part 3 of week 1 of the homework, just print that page out and just get what can I eliminate? Why can I eliminate? Why can I eliminate? I was noticing that the stuff that was causing me stress and anxiety was very often the same stuff. It was like babysitting issues, or my kids are around, or I didn't plan time for lunches or, you know, or dinners. So it was the same recurring problems that was causing me anxiety. So, you know, now I have a system in place to take care of those problems.
Oh, baby, powerful. I want to give you guys a secret nugget. This was not in my game plan, but Marina just thought of this and reminded me. Anything that you're going to do more than once, create a system for it. If it's something that's a reoccurring thing for you, think of it as a system. Create a system for it. Because it takes you so much time to figure out what to do, but when you have a system, you say, oh, that's just part of this plan, and you put it into the system. You have a bucket.
It could be like something as simple as the mastermind. We have it every Tuesday. So I have it as a reoccurring appointment in my calendar. So I don't have to go look for a link, and I have the Zoom link on the calendar.
Me too.
It's like, it's done. I do it once and it's done. I don't have to think about it ever again. I don't have to send a message, look for it, dig it out. And then sometimes we plan an hour of, follow up after that. So you know that the material is fresh, it's good. I can actually, take notes from that. What can I address the next time? Little follow-ups here and there. You can either, if you're on fire, you can use that energy to address your clients, do some follow-ups, do the stuff that actually matters to you, right?
All right.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about clearing our mind and having super intense presence. So some of you talked about, Angelica said she's on her computer, she's got 100 different tabs open. So in our brains work similar to a computer. We have short-term memory, which is what's on our conscious screen. So your RAM, which is called random access memory, RAM for computer language, is your short-term memory. It's what's on the computer right now live. Hard drive, what's the hard drive? The hard drive is long-term memory. It's stored. It's your subconscious mind. It's information that's there, but you have to retrieve it. It's not up and on the screen. So if you have a bunch of programs open, you're online, you got videos, you got softwares, you got all this thing going, it uses up your what? Your RAM. Think of that as your presence. So when your mind has all these distractions going on, it has to work overtime just to try to keep it all straight. What I've found is this practice called the mind dump, that if you do this anytime you feel overwhelmed, but if you can get into the habit of doing it every night, the mind dump is powerful and it's super simple. It's on the outline here. And the mind dump is how to maintain flow, that flow state, and how to focus on your priorities. So what you do is you take your white pad or your yellow pad, and at the top you just simply write mind dump and you write the date. And then you just start making a list of everything that's on your mind. The idea is just to get whatever is on your mind out, get it off of your mind. That's the equivalent of closing the tab. Every time you write it down, prep for the workshop, clean the kitchen, get the materials ready for marketing, call Kim, get to hot yoga, whatever it is, write it down and get it out of your mind. That's the equivalent of closing that tab, close, 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 close. Every time you write it down, you get it out of your mind and you get it onto this like safety net called this piece of paper where it's going to be when you need to retrieve it. It puts it into long-term memory. So now you've closed down this programs and you go to this list of things and anything, literally, I got an email to send. Oh, I got to write this, or I want to journal. Anything that's on your mind, get it out of your mind. That gives you stillness. Instead of all these droplets of water making ripples on the water, now your brain, your mind just starts getting still. Then you look at these things and you go to step 2. Circle the top 10 priorities. What are the musts? What are the most important things? Circle the top 10 on your mind dump. Okay? After you circle those top 10, I'm going to ask you to prioritize because the mind can't handle 10 things. Studies show that the reason why, anyone know why phone numbers are 7 digits? Because that's about the max the mind can retain without stressing it out. So on my 3x5 card, I have this, and I have Greg's daily priorities. I put the date, and then I put my 7 top things, 5 to 7 top priorities, no more, because the mind can't handle it. And what does that get me to do? If I can only choose 7 things, and this is my priority list for the day, what am I doing? I'm saying no to things that are not that important. And I'm focusing on what's the most important. And I put these on my to-do list, and I can carry this with me. I might not carry this pad with me, my to-do list. I might not carry it with me, but I can stick this in my pocket and I can bring it with me all day long. And wherever I am, I check it off. And when I get checked it off, I feel good. And if I get through all 7, I'll flip it over and I'll do more on the back. And then this one's done. And if I don't get them all done, guess what I do? Tomorrow, when I do my next prep, I take the priorities that I didn't get complete, I put them on that day. And here's what's great. Even if I only get 4 or 5 of my top 10 things done, I still feel good.
Yeah.
I still feel good because I got what's most important done. And I consciously chose what's important. And that means I consciously said, that's not as important. I'll get to that later when I have time. And so this little practice can be so freeing for you to like get the stuff out of your head onto a piece of paper. You go to bed with your goals already set for the next day. Guess what happens in your subconscious mind while you're sleeping and you've already identified what's important?
It goes to work, does it for you?
It goes to work. It starts using creative energy. It starts using spirit. It starts using the magic of intention to start getting you ready for it. And then when you wake up, you're ready to go and your day is yours instead of somebody else's. Marina?
Okay. I just want to add one more thing, which was a big thing for me. And we have about 15 minutes left, so we're going to be wrapping up here. So one thing for me, and I remember you were catching me at doing that when I was doing my online course and I was editing. I have modules, I have videos, I have audios. It was huge. And I would just write it on the, like, you know, as one of the numbers, editing my course. Or for Greg, it was like writing the book. And he looks at it and he goes, honey, this is a project. This is not a check off list where like I do my yoga class. So be realistic with, you know, is it doable? Like we overestimate how much we can be doing in an hour a day. So that takes a whole sheet of paper for me to unpack. And now I actually have a full binder for online course. So being realistic, I'm doing one module or I'm looking at the pictures or I'm sorting things out. So be very specific. Again, when we start doing it, we start becoming very conscious of the language that we're using.
Yes.
And almost plugging it. Is it realistic? Is it specific? Is it doable? I don't want to set myself to fail either. I'm not going to say write a book and then I'm like, wow, what a loser. I didn't write my book today. You know, right? Realistic with how big that task is. Maybe writing an amount of time. How long does it really take? Maybe I need to go to my favorite coffee shop, get the right setting, get in the mood, do some yoga before I do the creative writing.
Good point. I want to just give you a little acronym that I use, GPA. Write that down, GPA. And it's an important distinction Marina just brought up. G is for goal. P is for project. A is for action. And although they are all connected, they're all different. The goal is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, and it's out there and you can see that's the bigger picture, right? The goal. A project, you might have 3 or 4 projects that are required for you to complete that goal. So each goal might have several projects underneath it. And each project might have several or dozens of actions in order to complete the project, in order to complete the goal, right? So get real when you're writing down on your priority list. If it's a project, realize that it's not just one thing, write the book. It's maybe better would be write 3 pages. Spend 15 minutes on the book, spend 30 minutes on the book. So be conscious about whether these are actions or projects and goals. You don't really want to write goals on here. You really want to write actions, tasks, top priorities. Okay? All right. With that, let's take the last couple minutes and we're going to finish with step number 7, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. Step number 7 is the accountability cycle. And I know that that's one thing that you guys are working on is cycles and rhythms and the goddess flow. And one cycle that's really important is what I call the accountability cycle. So whenever you take action, guess what? There's going to be what? A result. But what a lot of people do is they just take action, they get a result, they take action again, they get a result, they take action again, they get a result, and they end up doing the law of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. What's missing is after you take the action, you get the result, then take a moment to evaluate. Okay, what went well? What do I need to adjust? And then you can repeat the action, but you're going to get better every time. So this accountability cycle, do this if you can after every major event. What went well? Here's 3 questions you can ask. What went well? What was missing? And what's next? And if you evaluate yourself and then you can make those little adjustments, then taking action, you get better and better and better. And next thing you know, you're getting done in 30 minutes, what used to take you an hour. Next thing you know, you're learning how to prioritize, you're learning how to say no, because you're conscious about this. This keeps your whole day, your whole week conscious. So that's what we're doing at the end of the week is we're saying, okay, what did I say I was going to do? What went well? What's missing? What didn't get done? What's next? What did I learn? How can I adjust? So these are this is what creates, and then Marina was also right, is having accountability partner. It's much better to go through that evaluation and that adjustment with a third party who can give you feedback. Even if it's a peer, if it's a coach, that's great because they have experience and knowledge. But even if it's a peer, just by you, who found that sometimes by talking things out with a conscious listener, you come up with new ideas that you wouldn't have come up on your own just by speaking it to somebody else. Who's found that's true? So by having that accountability and verbalizing it, putting words to it, you can bring up information, especially if you're collaborating with somebody who's conscious and cares about you. Okay. So that's it for my best practices for creating a flowy but structured life. And let's open it up for questions. We have another 7 minutes. Let's see if anyone has any questions or comments about any of the steps in the process.
Hi.
Hi, Valerie.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Marina. I really love all this stuff. I used to write down like everything, always like controlling, and at some point it was like insane, you know. So my question is, what do you do with all your paper and stuff? Because we end up having so much. Do you keep it, or you get rid of it, or do you cycle like once a year? Or I don't know. It's my question.
Great question. What I do is when I check off the things off of this list first, because these are my priorities. If I can only get these 7 things done, I'm a successful person that day. But I also check off the things on this list. And as I scratch them off and I check them off, when the whole page gets full, I just switch over and I go to a new page and I do transfer them. But once they're done, it feels really good to just crumple it up and throw it away.
Okay, cool.
That's done. And
That's
look at
done.
and I celebrate that. I celebrate the accomplishments. Yeah, but I let it go.
And now for me, I've been turning it, like I've had a period in my life where I was like super brainy, and then I got fed up of that. And then I was too flowy and goddessy, and I was like, I wasn't harnessing that energy. And now I'm using both. And we're going to dive into that topic a lot more next week. But I enjoy doing these mind dumps and, cards and then burning them. I turn it into ritual, into like letting go. And like literally I set this paper bin next to the fire, and then I'm like, tonight we burn. Tonight we make a fire, and then we put some tribal music and we celebrate all the stuff that happened that I got to eliminate and let go of. Well, we'll put some drum beats and music to, go loud, and celebrating the successes, celebrating the things that do work. And I check them off. I'm like, yeah, let's do that with some visuals and noise. And so I turn them into rituals now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Beautiful. Great question. Any other questions?
Well, I have so many takeaways, because I remember when I used to make the Post-it cards with my weekly goals, and I would just handwritten them and share them with my group, and everyone would mail them to me or put them in the group. Everything always got accomplished. Now when you reminded me of it, and then of course I stopped, because whatever it's working, I have a tendency to stop doing. And I've learned new things today. And I thought that I know it all. So I'm so beyond grateful because I love learning from people who inspire me and who are successful and who have best practices to share. And of course, now it's our job to create and to adjust to see what's worked for us. But now I have this, like, I can put everything into my compartment of my brain. As soon as we finish the call, I'm going to actually have closure, take notes, and like put it to action immediately for today. I'm not going to wait, just to reinforce. But this is like simple. I love the GPS system. It's because I was disconnected from this big goal, like write a book. And now I know the goal, the project, the action. And it's like 1, 2, 3. And also this takeaway of these 3 steps, because now I see what is holding me back. Sometimes I don't have the wrap up and I don't have the follow-up Friday. So I'm more spontaneous, but now to schedule this an hour to plan my week, my clients, everything, I will be flowing even more because I do it with dinners. Like if I have a client in the evening, I cook in the morning, or I just like, you know, in a free time at lunch, I prepare something for the evening. So I'm not stressed about it, but I can do it with my priorities now.
Yes. Beautiful.
Like, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I want to challenge each of you to look at, after this call, take 5 minutes and look at your schedule in the next 24 to 48 hours, no more, while it's fresh in your mind, and block out at least 30 minutes to go through this entire process and do this worksheet and get your weekly map, get your ideal week mapped out. It should take about half an hour, no more than an hour at most, even if you're distracted, but half an hour should be fine. You've got half of the work is already done because you've been doing the worksheets with Marina every week. You know what your goals are, you know what your distractions are. Go through the process, get this mapped out, and then plug it into your calendar with those reoccurring reminders. And then play with it, have fun with it. See how checking off things, having a list, having intention, see how much fun it is, and see how your life, how much more joy and focus you get. And then adjust. And you guys are going to be getting together on Tuesdays, and you can play with this and you can share with your buddies, your accountability buddies. I also encourage you, if you don't have an accountability buddy, that's another challenge. Pick somebody from the group, reach out with them, somebody that you have a good connection with, and say, let's be accountability buddies. Let's help me. I'll help you. You help me build these habits, these healthy habits that we're talking about into my routine. So those are my 2 challenges. Block out time to do this workshop and find a buddy to hold you accountable.
Love it, love it, love it. Greg, thank you so much for being with us today. I keep on learning so much from you every single time. And I know you pushed me and you challenged me in the beginning, and how much I resisted for probably a year and a half. I was like, oh my God, structure. And then I started seeing results. In 6 months, it's like, whoa, I'm seeing results. My events are getting full. It's actually working. And then we built the structures that were solving my anxious days and these, stressful situations where I have I have an assistant, I have a sitter now, we have a tutor for Jasmine. It's like, whoa, my quote unquote big problems turned into delegating them now. It's like, whoa, life is getting easy. And I'm putting more time into what I actually enjoy doing and who I'm enjoying spending this time with. So it's amazing. So that stuff works. And thank you so much for being with us today, beautiful ladies as well. And so we'll see you next Tuesday for more. If you have, we're going to start a little chat in the group, right, Sarah? Yeah. So we'll start the group chat of like your takeaways. What are you learning from this? How are you applying this information? That's the most important piece. We're not lacking information today. You can Google this stuff. This is probably sitting somewhere on YouTube or Google. How are you applying it? That's what makes the difference. The only difference is how are you applying it in your life? So we'll talk more about that. And thank you all so much. If you have any questions, we'll keep it in the chat. We'll address Greg again if necessary. And thank you all.
Thank you guys. Go create your optimal week, your optimal lives.
Yay.
Well, thank you.
Love you all.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you, Marina. Thank you.
Oh, thanks,
Welcome.
love. Bye.
You are a superpower couple.
Oh, thank you, Dita.
Goddess.
Thank you.
Nice.
Love you all.
Cool.
Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Doing it now.
Amazing. All right.
Marina?
Yes.
We
We just stop the recording for a second here.
Okay, perfect.
Recording. Goodbye.